lecture series by Professor Kunal Chakraborty and Professor Bhaskar Chakraborty, which was chaired by Sujata Madam. The very pertinent issue of Itihashe Shekal o Ekal, meaning historiography can be regarded as one of the important aspects of this particular topic in that way. Like my paper, it talks about revisiting the historiography of the Industrial Revolution, views of the earlier and the contemporary historians. Now, when we hear about the Industrial Revolution, we have certain things in our mind. Firstly, we think that Industrial Revolution, it is a change of the entire production system. Some also regard it as the basic, what to say, the door which brought modernity into effect. And also the important aspect is that Industrial Revolution changed the lives of so many people. It changed the form of the society. But Industrial Revolution as seen in today's context was not seen in that way 250 years back or 2 centuries back. Like there are different classifications or different historiographies of the Industrial Revolution. If we go into that, first I have to mention this thing, very important aspect, that when we hear about this topic, Itihashe Shekal Ekal, we think, oh, it's a very easy topic. What historiography was there earlier times and what we are having today's times, just discuss those and it has nothing to do else. But when we go into deep into this particular topic, we realize that it is not only merely a discussion which can be done in outside seminars or in places where there is lack of academic approaches to education. So in that way, it's not that easy task. When I was writing this particular paper, trying to figure out the various aspects of the paper, I remember that what history used to be when I was in school. When I was in school, history used to be something like, oh, it's only data and information. But history is not only confined to data and information. History is something beyond data that needs to be discussed, because data you will get in Google. Now in today's times, it's very easy to get data. It's very easy to get information. Now you don't require encyclopedia also to go to the libraries and find encyclopedia and get information. It's very easy. But the fact is the analytical part. And when you come to the analytical part, you get to see that the analysis of the various historians over ages has changed, or particularly it has been reinterpreted. So when we are studying history, reinterpretation and interpretation both needs to be kept in mind. Like what we see in the Industrial Revolution, the classical interpretation or the earlier interpretation about Industrial Revolution, generally you find names like Adam Smith, a very important name, Wealth of Nations, his popular book, whatever you, from which subject you belong, history, political science, sociology, economics, or beyond that. You get to know about all this capitalist society, the good things about Industrial Revolution and how Industrial Revolution gradually it made good impacts, its benefits in spite of the hardships people had to face. But the positive aspects of the Industrial Revolution we get to know from the classical thinkers. But as time progresses, when the Marxists come into the discourse of trying to locate the historiography of Industrial Revolution, they give another historiography. They say, like people like Karl Marx and even people Marxists after Marx, they say like Industrial Revolution, it was an event, even an incident which changed the society. The production forces, the production means it changed. So from feudal society, society got transformed into capitalist society. The Marxists are of the opinion. And also the emergence of new classes. Like earlier, generally the Marxists categorized society on the basis of classes, and economy is the basic aspect through which they try to locate history or trace history. In that way, they say that the emergence of the bourgeois class and the proletariat class. This Industrial Revolution they brought into two new classes. The haves and the have-nots, they existed earlier also. But the names, the focal point from land to capital, it changed. Earlier, if you had more amount of land, if you had more land, you used to be the controlling person of the society. But now, after the Industrial Revolution, you have to own the means of capital. If you own the means of capital, then only you can be regarded as someone important. You can control the society. As we progress to the 20th century, then we see more interpretations coming up. The Industrial Revolution, not only economic aspect, but the social and cultural aspects of the revolution. Industrial Revolution, not a matter only confined to industry factories, but Industrial Revolution having huge amount of implications in the lives of people. The role of women, how the women were involved in the production process, the oppression they faced, and even people come up with analysis and writings where the women were not given the same wages compared to the men. These are the new interpretations. Then more interpretations coming up. The optimist, the pessimist, that Industrial Revolution had good things, Industrial Revolution had bad things, its positive impacts, its negative impacts. And also, the contemporary historians or even people coming in the late 20th century, post 1950s, or even much later, specifically in the 1980s, 1990s, they bring up this particular idea that Industrial Revolution is a matter which is not only confined to Europe, or it was not a Eurocentric matter, it was a matter which needs to be discussed even the geographical terrain of Europe. So it had its implications even outside Europe. And when we were trying to study history in the 21st century, post-2000, environment becomes a very important aspect. Ecology becomes an important aspect. And when we go through Industrial Revolution, we have to also find out that it had immense amount of environmental and ecological impacts. Biodiversities, species, their life, how they were connected to this particular event, how that particular Industrial Revolution affected the lives of the various species, it was also there. Now, what I want to say is that several historians over the years, they have given their own theories. They have brought their ideas, different school of thoughts, propagated their views, their ideas about this particular matter. But we as students of history, it is our job not to compartmentalize ourselves or not to put ourselves in one particular box, or rather find out the merits and even the demerits which are there in all those boxes. Because here we are trying to build a synthesis. We are trying to get the gray area of society, because the historian's job is not only to say what is yes and no, what is black and what is white. The historian's job is to trace this gray matter, the gray part of the society or the topic which we are lagging in the present scenario, because anything and everything is being termed as history.
Kindly summarize.
I will end it with this particular thing, that when we see the historiography of the Industrial Revolution, which has evolved significantly over time, moving from classical interpretations to complex social, cultural and global perspectives, we get to see different interpretations. More recent global and comparative historiography challenges the Eurocentric narrative, as I was saying, framing the Industrial Revolution as a part of the broader global phenomenon. The ongoing scholarly debates reflect the complex and multifaceted nature of this transformative period, and as historian, we have to identify this transformation, we have to identify the reinterpretation and interpretation of this historical event, Industrial Revolution. Thank you very much.